We're continuing after the Mishnah. This is in the Gemara on the Beis Amud Aleph in Moed Katan. And we have various different scenarios which on Chol Moed we're allowed to do or not allowed to do. The Gemara brought out different things that you're allowed to do. One of the criteria is if there is a loss. I mean, that's what the Mishnah said, that if there is a loss, the Gemara talked about two types of field. There is a Beis HaShalachim, there is a field which is on a hill and doesn't hold the water well. Over there, it's more important for the field to keep it wet all the time. The Chachamim will allow you to do more things in that kind of a field just because there is a loss if you don't do anything. If you don't water, there will be a loss. As opposed to a field which is called a Beis Habal, which is on the valley. Over there it holds the water from the rainwater, so we're not going to allow you. There's not so much of a loss. That's one distinction. Another distinction we had in the Mishnah, which is we derive from the Mishnah. Oh no, actually the Mishnah says that we only allowed you, even, this is the second point of the Mishnah, that even if it's a case of a loss, like we're talking about a field which is on top of the hill, and it doesn't hold the water, and we allowed you to trouble yourself to help it out, but still only a little bit of trouble, not a lot of trouble. In other words, just the fact that the field needs to be watered doesn't mean that you shouldn't just go to do everything over there. No, only a little bit of tircha. So, like, for example, we said you can't use rainwater or you can't use water that was collected in a pit, only well water. Well water runs on its own. It's easier to go ahead and water your field with that, meaning that so we have here two halachas basically. One, that we're saying even a little bit of trouble, you only allowed to do it in a place where you need it. It's not just for improvement. If you need it just for improvement, you want to make it better, you want to make the field a little better, then even a little trouble is prohibited on Chol Moed. But if you need it, like in the field which is on the hill, the Beis HaShalachim, over there we'll allow you, but provided there's a little trouble. A lot of trouble, what is defined by a lot of trouble? Bringing the water from the pit or rainwater, that's defined as a lot of trouble. That we're not allowed to do. The Gemara is trying to find who this opinion. That was the Mishnah, the Stam Mishnah that we learned in the very beginning. The Mishnah said that Mashkin Beis HaShalachim b'Moed. That means you can water that field which needs water during Chol Moed, and we allowed you to use different kinds of well, whether it's a new well or it's an old well, but you still would not be allowed to use rainwater or mekila and pit water because that would be a lot of trouble. This is what we learned in the Tanakama of the Mishnah. And then we have more opinions. So the Gemara wants to know now, the Gemara's question is, Man Tana, who is this Tana? In other words, the Gemara is looking for this opinion elsewhere. who is this rabbi who writes this Mishnah? Now, the Gemara is defined. What are we looking for? So first of all, he says, the Peseda in. He says, you're only allowed to even trouble yourself a little bit if there is a loss. As the example the Mishnah says, Beis HaShalachim, a field which is on the hill, which needs water. So who is the rabbi, who is the Tana that says only if you have a loss? So the Rashi explains, Man Tana de Masnisin, who is this Tana that we have in our Mishnah, the Tana Kama, the first Tana of the Mishnah. And it says over there, the Peseda Shorich Mitrach Bo B'Choilo Shomoyed, that if you have a loss, you're allowed to trouble yourself on Choilo Shomoyed, on the Choilo Moyed, on the weekdays of the Yom Tov, that you're allowed to trouble yourself. He allows you to trouble yourself if there is a loss. As for example, Kigoin, Beis HaShalachim. So, number one, this opinion allows you to trouble yourself, but number two, it has to be a loss. He lets you trouble yourself on Chalamoyed if there is a loss. But harvacha loy. If you're just doing it for more comfortable, or you want to make it more profit, you want to make a better field, no, then that's not allowed. That we won't allow. We only allow troubling yourself on Chalamoyed if it's going to be a loss if you don't take care of it. But if it's going to be just for the purpose of making it better, no, then he won't allow it. So that's one. We'll do a second halacha. Let's do the Rashi. Harvacha loy. What does it mean? What would be the case in which you want to use trouble yourself for extra, to make the field better? Kigoin the base about, as for example, that of a field which holds the water well, that's in a valley. Over there, he doesn't allow the asur lehashkoisa. Over there, it's prohibited to water it, me'achar she'ein bo hefsed, since it does not, there is no loss in it. If you're not going to water it, your field is not going to get ruined if you don't water it. As Rashi says, she'ein tzarich lehashkoi, so you don't need to water it, elo leharvacha demilsa, just to make it more comfortable. You want to make it better. As Rashi says, lishavye afli charpi, to make it from dark, sharp. In other words, you want to make it a better field. It's a language used by the Chachamim. You just want to better it. You don't want to, you're not going to sustain a loss if you don't do it, but you want to do it for better, to making your field a better field. Then we're not allowed to trouble ourselves. So we know, A, that if there is a loss, you are allowed to trouble yourself in Choilo Shel Moed, as for a Beis HaShalachim, for a field on the top of the hill. And for Harvacha, if you want to trouble yourself just to make yourself a better field, but the field in of itself doesn't really need you, so then you're not allowed to do that. If you just want to better. Now, and then there's another stipulation. Even if we're dealing in a case, in a situation where there is a loss, and we allow you, like in the Beis HaShalachim, we allow you to trouble yourself, mitrach loy mitarchinam, but to make mitra. We're not going to allow you to trouble yourself. I guess too much trouble. Mitrach loy mitarchinon, too much trouble. We're not going to allow you, even in that case, even though he allows for a little bit of trouble. That's not allowed because that is too much trouble to do a tircha yiseda. Extra tircha, we're not allowed to. So that's why we'll allow you to use the well, but we're not going to allow you to use other waters. Rashi says, "Afilu b'mokem pseida mitrach loy tarchinon." Even when there's a loss, we're not going to allow you to trouble yourself more. The Katan masnisin, because our Mishnah says, "Avaloy make shamim chulu," not allowed to use rainwater. So even a beis hashlachim the yeshba pseida, we're not allowed to do a tircha yiseda. So therefore, these are the two situations that the Mishnah talks about. From the izba tircha. I'm a little bit, the Gemara, the Rashi doesn't say tircha yiseda, but we just learned that you're allowed to be tircha, not tircha yiseda. All right. So the question is, who is this opinion? Can we find an opinion that says that? So the Gemara Amar Rav Huna says Rav Huna, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakovi. This is Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. I'll find you a case, which is Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, the Tanan. So we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Omer, this is a Mishnah later on the Vavamed base. Rabbi Lezer says like this, that Moishchin es hamayin me'ilon le'ilon, that you can put a tree of the water from one tree to the other tree. So what happens is like this: you have, as Rashi explained, you have like trees in the field, and one tree gets a puddle of water around it, which makes it grow well. He allows you to pull water from one tree to the next tree to create sort of a trench from one tree to the other tree, so the other tree will get water as well. Let's see the Rashi. Rashi will explain. And this is in the Mishnah later on Vav Amid Beis. He says, Moishchin hamayin mi'ilon le'ilon. You can pull the water from one tree to the other tree. B'choilo shel Moed. On choilo shel Moed, you can do that. He says, Im yesh mayim tachas ilon echad. If there is water beneath one tree, oisim derech katan, you make a small path, a narrow path, me'ilon le'ilon, from one tree to the next tree, kedei sheyimshechu hamayim me'ilon ze le'ilon achar, so that the water will draw from one tree to the other tree. That much you're allowed to do. What you're not allowed to do, so you can make a little trench from one tree to the next tree, but you're not allowed to water the entire field. Now, if it was a field that needed the water, then Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov would allow that. But here we're talking about the Beis Haba'al Komaydi. He's talking about over there by a field, which is called the Beis Habal, which has plenty of water. The harvachahi, the reason you want the water is for extra. So over there, we don't allow you for the extra to water the whole field. To create a little trench from one field, from one tree to the other tree, that's permissible. But to go ahead and water the whole field, since it's not a field that really needs it, it's not a Beis HaShalachim, it's a Beis Habal. So therefore, we're not allowed to do that. So what do we see? Alma. So what do we see? The harvacha, the milsa, also Rabbi Wolosow. That so we see from here that if the issue is to make it better, Rabbi Wolosow doesn't allow it because he says lo yashkes asoda kula. So that first statement that we brought down, that our Mishnah says in the beginning of the Mishnah, that you can only water a Beis HaShalachim and you cannot water a Beis Habal, that seems to be clearly the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that you cannot water the field. Just like our Mishnah says, you can't water a Beis Habal, only a Beis HaShalachim. So he tries. Rav Huna says that that's the opinion of our Mishnah, that it goes like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So the Gemara says, but that's only one part of it. That's only, you learned the one part that you can only trouble yourself if it's necessary, not if it's not necessary. Not if you just want to make it better, but only if you are afraid of a loss. That part you can learn from Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. However, the second part that we said, that even in a place where there is a loss, you're still not allowed to work a Tircha Yisera. We don't see that. That part we don't see. We just see that it doesn't let you in a place where there is no loss, but in a place where there is a loss, for him not to allow a Tircha Yisera, like in the Mishnah, that we don't allow you in the Beis HaShalachim on the hilltop field to bring water from the rain, or which the Tircha Yisera, we don't see that. Tircha, so the Gemara says like this. Eimar deshamat leRabbi Elazar. When I will say, when did you hear or see the opinion of Rabbi Elazar? You saw harvacha deloy. He doesn't allow for a tircha which is made just for making an improvement for better, because he doesn't allow you to water the field. But you don't know tircha b'mokei peseda. Where do we know that to trouble yourself in a place where there is a loss, like not to allow you to bring rainwater or make kilo in the other water, mishamatli? Did you then hear from the din of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov over there? He doesn't tell you. Maybe he's only talking about a Beis Habal. Maybe in a Beis HaShalachim, maybe you would be allowed to even do tircha. So he is not that Tana we're looking for. We're looking at Tana to cover both opinions of both halachas of the Mishnah. First of all, that you can only be tereach in a place where there is a loss, but a place where there's no loss, you cannot be tereach. So you can only be tereach in a Beis HaShalachim and not in a Beis Habal. And number two, that even in a Beis HaShalachim, only if it's not too much tircha. But a lot of tircha is not allowed to do either. So who's that mandama? Elam Rapapa. But rather Rapapa says he's going to find another opinion who says that. Says Rapapa, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. This goes according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, and we're going to find now the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya. We learned in Abraisa. So we learned in Abraisa there is a Mayon Hayotze B'tchilo. If you have a new well, it's first popped up. Now, a well that first pops up, that there's a worry that it might fall down, it's a new, you don't know yet, it's not been established, a new well. So a new well to allow you to use that well to water your field, that's sort of taking a chance that you might get into trouble because it might break down. So he's allowing it. And he's allowing you to do this tircha, mashkin mimenu afilu sadei beis habal. He allows this opinion of Meir to water even a field which is called the beis habal, which does not water which doesn't really need the water. So he is allowing you, A, to trouble yourself, to use a mayan that comes out in the beginning, and B, he's allowing you even a beis habal. This for sure goes against our Mishnah, because our Mishnah only allowed the beis hashlochim, not a beis habal. It allowed you maybe not tchila, but only a beis hashlochim, not a beis habal. So the Divrei Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir is the most lenient opinion so far. He is saying it doesn't matter that you're starting up with a new well that you've never used. And it doesn't matter that this is a field that doesn't really need it. It's not essential for it. It's a beis habal. Still, we can go ahead and do it on Chalamoyed. Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says, first of all, Ein mashkin elos dei beis hashlochim. We cannot water but a beis hashlochim that needs it. A beis habal that the mayor said you could use, you can't use that because it doesn't need it. You're not allowed to be tereach on Chalamoyed. You're not allowed to be tereich on Chalamoyed with a beis habal, only a beis hashlochim. But he adds shechorva that was destroyed. The Gemara is going to explain that means it used to have a well in the field before. It got closed up, it got destroyed, and now we have a new well that has not yet been developed. It's still the beginning, and there could be a tircha over there, so we allow it. But it has to be, another charava means that it's used to having a well, so now it needs a well because it had a well, and it's a beis hashlochim, and therefore you can use the well that has come out. So far, Rabbi Yehuda does allow you over here to have the tircha for a beis hashlochim. So far, we have that same one part of the Mishnah that you could trouble yourself because he allows you to use a well for the beis hashlochim. So that means that you could trouble yourself, that halacha, if it's a loss that you need it. So that's the further. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, loikach v'loikach, not so and not so. So the Gemara will explain, meaning whether it had a well, whether it did not have a well. Not so, not whether it had a well, whether it not a well. You can never water it. You can never water it from a new well. A new well is too much trouble, or is trouble, not too much trouble, I should say. And he doesn't allow, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah doesn't allow to trouble yourself. Even he's more strict. He's more strict than all the opinions. Than Rabbi Yehuda. He says that you're not allowed to trouble yourself for a Beis HaShalachim, even if there's a hefsid, you're not allowed to. Yes, said Al-Kain. But now there's even more. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says even more. And here we're going to learn that too much trouble is not allowed, even if there is a loss, even if you're trying to water needs. Lo yefane odom amasamayim. Now, moving a duct of water, that's a duct of water, which means there's like a trench. It's an amas mayim that the water runs there. And you're moving that duct of water, the yashkel liginosoi ulechurvosoi, and you want to water your garden, or churvosoi. I think churvosoi means a broken down place where you started to, a house or something that broke down and you're using it now to plant over there. So what you're trying to do is move that whole duct, that whole water direction to your garden, to your churba. You can't do that in the Chayil Shel Moed. That's too much construction. That means that's a tircha yisera. Even though your garden and your churba need it, they're like considered to be like the Beis HaShalachim. They need the water. But on Yom Tov, on Chol HaMoed, you can't go ahead and do this big tircha of having the Amas Hamayim go to your garden and your churba Chol HaMoed. Okay, that's the Braisa that they sefta. Now the Gemara is going to explain what the Braisa means. Frag the Gemara, Mai Chorva. He says, you can, Beis HaShalachim Shechorva. What does it mean that it was destroyed? What does it mean that the Beis HaShalachim, that field that needs the water, was destroyed? What does that mean? You're going to say it was destroyed, which means you had a Beis HaShalachim that became drenched, is no longer worth as a field. Shenasa boir. It became into a pit. So what purpose is there to water that pit? It has no, you can't fix it or ever. There's no point in watering it because you're not going to do anything for it. So we're not talking about a regular churba. We're talking about, the Gemara says, we're talking about very poshut. It's a field that needs a well. The earlier well that was there has been destroyed, and now we have a new well. And he says, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said that from a new well, you can't, even though the other well was destroyed, we're not allowing you to water it anyways. That's what he says. Rashi explains. Shechorva, Amar Abai, Shechorva is my nachar. Shechorva is my nachar, sagt Rashi. Shechorav mayano sheregil lishtis memeno. The well that it was accustomed to drink of it watered, the regular well, was destroyed. It's no longer there. And the kivon sheregila lishtis, since it's accustomed to drink, in other words, you normally water it, if he's not going to water it now, islip seda, you say that, then he's going to have a great loss, because it's been always getting water from that well, from the other well. Again, I'm not sure why is it only if it had, in our Mishnah we were talking about a beis hashlochim to bring it, but here it seems like it's connected to the fact that it already had the well. So if you don't water it now, there's a pseidisin. Afilu hachi, and yet lo shori Rabbi Yehuda elo mimayin sheyotze lo. He does not allow only from a well that came out to the field, which means there is a well over there. The lav tirchahu, that's not such a trouble from the well. A new well, an older well, but a well is okay. Avo mei yeshomin umei kiloin, but rainwater or water from the pit that was collected, the tirchahu, which is a trouble loishori, he did not allow. Afil lebeis hashlochim, even for a beis hashlochim. So we see the way Rashi learns. We see both halachas, since he says that you can only use mashkinas the beis hashlochim shel chorva from another mayon. That means you can only use a mayon, but not something else. So that means you know that you can, first of all, you can only mashka beis hashlochim, and you can only use a mayon and not something else. And the rest is a further we see it. V'oid chazinon. We see this further. Because in the second statement, the K'omar Rabbi Yehuda says in the second statement, he says, Lo yifane mayim chulu, that don't move that water duct to your field. Alma, so what do we see from there? The Loshori Rabbi Yehuda tircha yisera, that he doesn't allow extra trouble. That fits with the Mishnah's second halacha, that we don't allow tircha yisera. We only allow for a beis hashlochim. We don't allow extra trouble. So Alma Masnisin Rabbi Yehuda. So it says it goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. Why? According to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he doesn't allow even in a case where that you need to water it, because Chorav Mayona, he doesn't make Loishno Chorav Mayona, it doesn't make a difference if the Mayan was destroyed. The Loishno Loichora, the Mayan Shiyotzla B'tchila. If it's a new Mayon, I mean, the old one is there, it just waters it, so you don't have to do anything. But the Mayan Shiyotzla B'tchila, that it comes out now and we worry he might fall down, he doesn't make a different tarvayu osur. He answers them both. That means that according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, we don't allow a tircha yiseda even in a place where there's a loss. Let's just finish. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, oimer loy kach v'loy kach. What does he mean loy kach v'loy kach in the Braisa? Not so, not so. Loy shno chorov mayona. It makes no difference if the well was destroyed and it needs water. And even if it doesn't, the mine is not destroyed either way, and you just need it for extra. Mayan sheyotza betchila loy. If it's a new mayan, you're not allowed to. So you see, what's the reason mayan sheyotza betchila loy? Because there will be a tircha yisera, and we can't do that. Okay, so because today we have a little bit of a